Welcome to Sports and Touring, and you join us today in the 370Z NISMO. We're on our way to see some friends of ours, Tarmac Sports, to make a little tweak to the exhaust. And that made us think we wanted to talk about what was the direction of this car. And it was always about making it into an OEM Plus build. So what do we mean by OEM Plus?
OEM Plus can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but for me, it generally means that a car takes a lot of the best bits that it get from factory. The 370Z NISMO, the last generation, having all of those bits already from factory. There's not really much else that you can get from NISMO. Taking other bits from companies that the manufacturers worked with in the past. For example, wheels on this car, I'd really recommend Rays if you wanted to keep it OEM Plus, because Nissan have been working with Rays for years. This car has Rays on it, so OEM Plus is much more about a subtle, clean look.
To me, OEM Plus is all about the details. It's when you look at a car and you could just see, oh, it's a 370Z NISMO, but there's something about it that's not quite the same. It looks just a little bit better. And while that isn't exactly the kind of clickbaity type content you would want on YouTube, it was really important to me that this car was done tastefully. Basically, what would the car look like if the factory offered a number of premium options that you then curate those changes yourself for the car? I don't think it has to be originally factory necessarily, but I think you can add certain bits. For example, if you were to imagine what would Nissan do, say, if they offered the kind of options that you might have available from a company like Ferrari. But for me, this car was really all about being a relatively subtle enhancement at first, because we do have other plans for this car. There might be a certain forced induction project on its way, but watch this space for that. There was a few setbacks in developing this particular car. One of them was obviously the pandemic. The other was the fact that one day we were sitting there on Auto Trader.
As you do on Auto Trader, the price kept going up and up and up and up, and then we ended up coming across the R8 GT Spider, which you fell in love with, love at first sight. When you buy a supercar, that kind of holds back some of your plans.
It was a car that I had to have, and if you want to know more about that, we'll leave a link in the description to the collection video, which was kind of emotional. That was part of what put things on hold. And then a trader of some description may have caused about £8,000 worth of damage to the car. So if you want to know what happens to the R8 and how £8,000 worth of damage was caused, you can check that link in the description too. But it's 2023, and I said to myself, the year of the 2 and the 3, or in Japanese, Ni-san, should be the year that I revive my plans for this car and make them happen no matter what. Not necessarily all in one year, but really just use this year to refocus. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I actually did buy the carbon signal 3-piece front splitter and side blades and Fly One Motorsport rear bumper valance, which kind of looks a bit like a diffuser. And those have been literally in my garage for, what, 2 years now, and I still haven't put them on. So my plan for this year is to just bring the standard of the paint up to where I wanted it to be, get the front splitter on, get the side skirts and the rear bumper valance on, get it looking the way that I want. Anyway, today we're heading off to Tarmac Sports, partly because we want to see their new facility because they've moved into a nicer new place, partly because we want to check out some of the cars that they've been working on, and partly like a broken record. And partly because we want to make a little tweak to the Tarmac Sports V2 short tails that we have fitted to this car.
Now, for those who don't know, the short tails are essentially just a resonated back box delete. This car from the factory, as we had someone comment recently, basically sounds like an EV. The only way you can't tell is because they pump artificial sounds into the cabin. Actually not artificial, they are from microphones in the engine bay, but it's not true exhaust noise, and that's the only noise you get. So from the outside, this car is silent. So that was one of the first mods you did to this car, was the V1 version. And that was at Tarmac Sports' old facility.
Because the stock cats are so restrictive, I think actually the sound that it made at that point was probably about right for most people. It sounds pretty good. It sounds like a proper sports car. That wasn't enough for me, so I then put the Cobra high flow cats on with Abbey Motorsport and maybe had the car tuned a little bit.
And later on, you got the V2 short tails on, which is what's on now, and it just makes the car sound so much better.
However, there is a little tweak that Tarmac Sports made since then that I thought I really ought to get put on this car.
Get down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard, let me see you try.
Right, we are here at Tarmac Sports now. We're about to just hand the car over, but before we do, we were talking about the whole idea of kind of OEM plus. The one little detail that really needed sorting was the tailpipes. Now, the stock Nismo tailpipes do come out quite recessed, so they're kind of quite a way in. And the original short tails were made to the specification of the original tailpipes. And of course, it looks a bit naff being recessed. Now, last year, Tarmac Sports decided to introduce an extender for the Nismo, so that if you get the short tails for your Nismo, then they come with an extension pipe. And if you bought your short tails before they introduced those, then of course you can get in touch, and I'm sure they'll do you a very, very good price to have these extensions added to yours. Right, and you might be wondering, why wouldn't we just put these on ourselves? Well, partly because I just wanted to come and see the guys here because I miss them and it's been a while.
And partly because if I didn't say I was going to do it, he definitely wouldn't do it himself.
I mean, to be fair, it would have been less time doing that than driving here, but I don't know, less interesting video. Of course, we've got the Tarmac Sports 370Z. I think it's called the fake Nismo. That's what you called it before? Fismo. It's the Fismo, fake Nismo, and I'm never going to be allowed back. And it's got a number of changes on it just to make it look sportier. It's got a big spoiler on the back, and obviously this car is...
Not a big spoiler.
That's a pretty big spoiler.
It's a subtle lip.
Subtle, that is not a subtle... That is a very big lip spoiler. Sitting very low, fitment looks great on this. This is their winter wheels that they run. Front splitter is very, very low. Let's just say it's connected with the road a few times, but they've also got the blacked out Mirimoto headlights. And over here we have Chris's GTR R35. I actually don't know what he's done to that, but the car that really stands out for us, which actually is going, it's going somewhere else, it's going overseas, is this
Mark IV Toyota Supra Aero top in Baltic blue. It's a really nice spec, really quite rare. A lot of people didn't quite spec the Aero tops. This had a wing on it before and some wheels. It's been reverted more to stock for the next owner. Other than that, pretty much stock except for some front mount intercooler and a few other engine related things, but all just bolt-ons. Yeah, really clean. And it also, I think that goes really well together. The blue and the red, the Supra and the GTR, that's a really nice combo to have.
I just want to say, I love the new place. It is so much bigger.
When we come, it was just bare in here.
So this whole floor was put in.
Yeah, we had the whole floor put in.
Cool, these are the 350, 370 bumpers.
So this goes on a 350Z, and there was a meet I was at a while back where I actually got to see one of these. I think it actually does work. Right, so that is it. This is the little detail, just fixing the extension of those rear tailpipes. Now it sits just a little bit proud of the rear valance on the Nismo. We've also got the spacers on the side, so we've improved the fitment of the car. Carbon fiber rear spoiler lip, the black roof, carbon fiber wing mirrors, carbon fiber B-pillar covers. Obviously the ride height, this is sitting on KWV3 coilovers, and we've got the HLS2 hydraulic front lift. It's these little touches that just make the car more special.
Let me see you try.